Jessica Miller and I were childhood sweethearts. I chased her, unwavering, for over a decade. After one reckless night, she smiled, cool as ice. Just a bit of fun between adults. Don't make it a thing. To make it up to me, she set me up with a freshman while she ran straight back to the man she's put on a pedestal. Later, when I finally started seeing someone else, she cried and begged me to come back. At a party, Jessica worked overtime playing matchmaker. She nudged a cute-looking girl in front of me and rattled off my life story from childhood to now. The girl was shy, head tipped down, stealing glances at me. She wasn't really my type, but out of courtesy, and because of Jessica, we added each other on WeChat. When the drinking wound down and we stepped outside, I took off my jacket and draped it over Jessica's shoulders. Once we got in the car, I cranked the heat all the way up. She's always hated the cold. She'd had plenty to drink, cheeks flushed, bold red lips, hair a little wild, every inch of her radiating heat. I've always known exactly what I liked. That never changed. The car cut through the night while we sat in stiff silence, letting it curdle in the dark. Just as she reached for the door, I said, "About that night." She cut me off. "We slept together once." "What? You want me to take responsibility for you?" After Jason Smith went abroad, Jessica let herself go. Boyfriends came and went, shelf life measured in months or days. That night we were both drunk. She wrapped her arms around my waist, and the feelings I'd buried for more than 10 years surged up. I couldn't help myself. The next morning I waited, over the moon, for her to give us a name. She just slid out of bed, got dressed with practiced ease, and said, "Let's go breakfast." Not a word about the night before. I flexed my fingers and corrected her. "I'm the one who wants to take responsibility." Jessica tucked her hair behind her ear, exposing that fine neck. One glance and I thought of the marks I'd left there that night. Her voice is always gentle, but that never keeps her words from wounding. Just adults having fun. Don't take it seriously. Besides, he's back. With that, she got out. I slammed a fist into the wheel. The horn tore through the night. A long, raw wail, exactly like the ache in my chest. My screen lit up. It was the girl. "Hi, I'm Jennifer Delaney." Jennifer talked a lot, no matter if I replied with, or sure. She could keep the thread going. The phone kept blinking, pulsing with the hope I'd write back. Outside of work, it had been ages since I'd gotten messages this often. The last person to do that was Jessica. Back when we first started college, everything was new, and we shared every little thing, all the time. When did that change? Probably the first time she mentioned Jason. In the video, the shy tilt of her head and that bright girlish hope in her eyes. After all my years at her side, I'd never seen it from her. "Luke Dawson, I want kanji." My phone buzzed with Jessica's lazy drawl. I checked the time, 10 p.m. She's picky about food, but she loves my seafood kanji. By the time I'd hit every store still open for ingredients and finished the pot, it was already midnight. I stepped into her place and stumbled over the mess in the entryway. High heels flung everywhere, men's dress shoes. A bodycon skirt looked like they'd been in a hurry. The bedroom door was ajar, spilling a thin blade of light into the dark. The muffled laughter and scuffling inside stopped, and Jessica came out with a man's arm around her. She looked at me and said, "Flat as ever, you're here." Even Jason by her side gave me a casual smile. In that moment, I felt pathetic. One late night whim from her and I came running with kanji. While I was scrambling for fresh crabs, she was in bed with Jason. It wasn't the first time. When she wanted to see a concert, I sat on my phone to snatch tickets, and when I couldn't, I paid scalpers through the nose. I'd half hoped she'd invite me along. She snatched the tickets from my hand, beaming. "Thanks." And off she went with Jason. When she said she wanted me to go with her somewhere, I ditched head office and followed her to a city I didn't know, only to realize she was really chasing Jason. Later he went abroad, and I thought I finally had a shot. But in her eyes, I didn't even measure up to those short-term boyfriends. At least they had the title. I was nothing. "Just leave the kanji and go," Jessica said. I looked at her. She looked at Jason. I couldn't even feel sad or mad anymore. It had happened too many times. So many that I'd gotten used to it, hollowed out to numbness. When I didn't move, she came over to take the bag. I turned my body away. She glanced up at me, puzzled. I looked down into the eyes I'd loved for a dozen years and said, cool as ice, "Don't call me in the middle of the night again." I'm not your boyfriend. I don't owe you caretaking. It was the first time I'd ever told her no, and I realized, somewhere along the endless wear and tear, my feelings for her had been bleeding out. I looked back and there was almost nothing left. I left under Jessica's stunned stare. A text popped up. "Good night," from Jennifer. The last one from her read, "I'd love to taste your cooking sometime. Think I might get lucky?" With a cute bunny emoji. I hadn't replied. Jessica had called right then. I hesitated, then typed, "Are you up? Want some late night food?" Jennifer answered fast, "Absolutely," with another hopeful bunny. When I pulled up outside her building, she was bundled in a thick robe, breath puffing in the cold, her ears bright red from the chill. "Sorry kept you waiting, huh?" I handed her the kanji. She cradled it like a treasure and gave me a sweet smile. "Not at all." Then she dug a tiny hand warmer from her pocket and pressed it into my palm. "Thanks, senior. It's freezing. Get home quick, okay?" And she padded upstairs in her fuzzy slippers. Her sleep cap had 2 bunny ears, bobbing as she climbed rabbit through and through. Impossibly cute. The warmer in my hand pulsed with heat, a small mercy in the knife-edged wind. When I got home, 2 messages arrived at once. One was from Jessica, the other was Jennifer thanking me and wishing me good night again. I ignored Jessica and opened Jennifer's chat. "Good night. Jessica didn't contact me for the next week." After all her on-again, off-again years with Jason, I knew that once he was back, nobody else existed. It wasn't surprising. She only thought of me when she needed something. My phone kept buzzing Jennifer again. She could talk about anything and everything, and no matter what I said, she'd pick it up and run. "Mr. Dawson?" My employee's voice snapped me back to the meeting. I realized I'd gotten way too caught up in the chat and actually laughed. I covered the smile tugging at my lips and looked back up to focus on work. When the meeting ended, my assistant teased, "What's got you grinning like that?" Jessica finally said yes. He was an old friend and knew all about her. "No," I said, shaking my head. "Then that's weird. Who else could make you smile like that?" I just chuckled without replying. After work, I went to pick up Jennifer. We'd planned dinner at her place. I trailed her through the market, watching her plant her hands on her hips as she bargained, then beam as she carried her spoils home. She hooked her arm through mine. "Come on, hurry, before the vendor changes his mind." She tugged me through the crowd, turning left and right between stalls. Watching her from behind, I naturally tightened my grip on her hand. By the time we lugged all the bags back to her apartment, she was already bustling in the kitchen while I helped on the side. But it quickly became clear she had no idea how to cook. She frowned, sneaking peeks at her phone for recipes. Since I was much taller, her search history was right there for me to see. Every single topic was something we'd talked about recently. So she wasn't naturally talkative or all-knowing after all. Every reply she'd ever sent me was something she'd thought through carefully. "Ah!" Jennifer yelped as a drop of oil splashed onto her face. I quickly turned off the stove and led her to the couch to check. Luckily, her eye wasn't hurt, though a small blister had formed beneath it. I disinfected the burn and dabbed on ointment. Her almond-shaped eyes shimmered as she stared up at me, unblinking. "The first time I met you," she said softly, "you were helping Senior Jessica put medicine on, just like this." The memory hit me all at once. Back in college, Jessica had suddenly become obsessed with wearing high heels, thin, sharp ones that tore her feet to shreds. "If they don't fit, stop wearing them," I'd tell her. But she only smiled. "Jason gave them to me. He says I look great in heels." Every time she winced her way down the hall in those ill-fitting shoes, I'd feel equal parts pain and helplessness, so I always carried bandages and antiseptic. Whenever she sat down, I'd disinfect and patch up her blisters, but she never learned, and one day she fell down the stairs and broke her leg. She spent days in the hospital, and Jason never showed up, not once. Just a casual text telling her to rest. Jessica ate the apple I'd peeled for her and said, "He didn't come because he's too busy." I couldn't bring myself to tell her I'd seen Jason the night before, arms around another girl, speeding off on his motorcycle. A month later, Jason finally appeared. No flowers, no fruit, not even fake concern. He was just there because he wanted a warm body beside him. Jessica didn't hesitate. She grabbed her crutch and tried to leave with him. Furious, I punched Jason. "Are you insane? She's got a broken leg!" Before Jason could hit back, Jessica stepped between us and slapped me hard. "You're the one who's insane, Luke. How we spend our time is none of your damn business." I rarely cry, but watching her limp away with him that day, tears actually fell. People all around were whispering and staring, and only one girl came up to hand me a tissue. "Don't cry," she said softly. Her voice was gentle, and her almond eyes were beautiful. But I was too heartbroken to even thank her. Years later, I found myself having dinner in her home. I gave a helpless laugh and finally made up for it. "Thank you, Jennifer." After dinner, when I was about to leave, she walked me to the door. Then she tugged lightly at my sleeve, stood on tiptoe, and brushed a kiss against my cheek. "Drive safe. See you." I watched her pale cheeks turn red. She pressed her lips together shyly, ready to close the door, but I stopped it with my hand, leaned down, and kissed her back. "See you tomorrow." She shut the door, and I didn't leave right away. Inside, I could hear her muffled squeal of delight clear as day through the thin wood. I reached up to touch my ear. It was burning hot. That day, when I pulled up to pick Jennifer after work, the passenger door opened, and Jessica slid in instead. I'd almost forgotten she and Jennifer worked at the same company. Jessica buckled her seatbelt, took out her lipstick, and started touching up in the mirror. "Here so early to pick me up?" she asked. I frowned. We hadn't spoken in days. What was she talking about? After finishing her lipstick, she leaned closer. "So, what are you getting me for my birthday this year?" That's when it hit me. It was her birthday. I'd remembered it for over a decade, and this was the first time I'd forgotten. Every other year, I'd given her something expensive: jewelry, designer bags. The apartment she lived in now had even been a gift from me, but it was Jason living there. Jessica came from the same kind of family as mine. Trinkets never impressed her, so I used to take her on little trips instead. That was all before she cut ties with her family for Jason. I'd given her more gifts than I could count, even though she never once remembered my birthday or gave me anything in return. A few days after mine, she'd send a casual happy birthday, and it was enough to keep me smiling for days. Thinking about it now, I realized how pathetic I was. She went on, "You actually took the kanji back last time and didn't reply to me. Luke, you've got some nerve." I'm telling you, if this year's gift isn't big enough, I won't forgive you. "Come on, stop wasting time. Drop me off at Long Quan Hotel. I'm celebrating with Jason." I watched her red lips moving and suddenly thought of another pair, soft and lightly glossed with a hint of peach. I'd spoiled Jessica too much, so much that she took my kindness as her right. "There's no gift," I said honestly. Her thin brows furrowed as she huffed. "Luke, if you keep this up, I'll get mad." In the past, that tone was all it took for me to give in. But not this time. "I forgot your birthday. I didn't prepare anything." Jessica clearly didn't believe me. I didn't bother explaining. I pressed the control and the car door on her side opened automatically. "Get out. I'm not here for you. I'm here for Jennifer. If you're going to Long Quan, take a left and grab a cab or have your boyfriend pick you up." Jessica glared at me, fuming. "Luke, you're mad because I didn't choose you, aren't you?" "Mad? Maybe once. I used to be mad at myself for staying by her side so long when she never saw me. Mad that every time I swore to let go, one call of Luke from her lips had me crawling back. But this time, it felt different. I hadn't thought about her in a while. My life was full. Someone else had taken up the space she used to occupy. Right now, I just wanted Jessica to get out of the car. If Jennifer saw her, she might misunderstand. She'd be hurt. So I kept my tone firm, cold. "Get out!" Jessica huffed, grabbed her bag, and slammed the door behind her. I texted Jennifer, and after a few minutes, she strolled over and climbed into the car. She greeted me with a smile, but her expression looked off. I asked what was wrong, but she only shook her head and said it was nothing. We went to a movie and had dinner, yet Jennifer seemed distracted the whole time. I tried to ask indirectly if it was something at work, but she denied it all. When I dropped her off at her building and was about to say goodbye, I noticed her eyes were red. I gently cupped her face. "Jennifer, what's wrong? Did I do something to upset you?" The moment I asked, her tears burst forth like a broken dam. She cried softly, hiccuping between sobs. It took me several minutes to calm her down before she finally sniffled and asked, "Luke, do you still like Senior Jessica?" That's when I realized she must have seen Jessica get into my car earlier. I'd already told her everything about me and Jessica. Childhood sweethearts for more than 10 years, plus that one reckless night. She pouted, jealous. Then, do you even have room in your heart for anyone else? I teased her on purpose. Nope. It's already completely full. Jennifer's lips immediately drooped. Luke! I hurried to add, but I kicked her out. Cleaned it spotless, didn't even leave a trace of trash. Now I'm sincerely inviting Miss Jennifer to move in. Would she be willing? Yes! Yes! She laughed, hugging me tightly, glowing with joy. I wiped away her tears and placed my palm over my chest. You forgot? You're the only one with the key card to this place. No one else can get in. The shadows on Jennifer's face finally lifted. She leaned against my arm, murmuring, "Liar, liar." I pulled her into a hug. Don't worry, Jennifer. When I love someone, I give it my all. When I got home and was about to go to sleep, my phone rang. Jessica. I glanced at the time, 12:30 and sighed. She was always like this, calling without a thought for the hour, as if I were on standby 24/7, waiting for her command. I used to be too. The moment Jessica called, I'd drop everything and rush to her, without a word of complaint, maybe even happy to do it, thinking at least she still saw me as someone she could rely on. I stared at the screen for a while, then set the phone to silent. I already had a good guess why she was calling. She'd probably fought with Jason again. Every time they argued, she'd come to me sobbing, swearing she'd never forgive him. Just as I started to drift off, my work phone buzzed. It was my assistant. After working together for years, he knew my schedule inside out. I frowned. Unless the company had just gone bankrupt, he'd be getting a pay cut tomorrow. As soon as I picked up, he said, "Finally! Jessica's been calling me non-stop. She's apparently lost in the mountains." The mountains? I asked, confused. Wasn't she having dinner with Jason at Longquan? Turns out they'd planned to watch the sunrise on the mountain, but halfway up they had a fight, and Jason left her there alone. I sighed. Sounded exactly like something Jason would do. Out of concern for her safety, I sent a few people to look for her, but didn't go myself. When I got confirmation she'd been found, I went to bed. I'm a light sleeper just as dawn broke. I heard the door's smart lock beep open. Only Jessica and I knew the password. She stood in the doorway, looking disheveled. In a few quick steps, she ran over and threw her arms around me, crying, "I thought I'd never see you again!" Funny I'd heard her say that before, only it wasn't to me. Back in college, during a hiking trip our club organized, 50 or so people split into two teams to compete. Jessica and Jason were on the same team. Before we set off, I told her, "Stay close to your group. Be careful." She hadn't said anything, but Jason, holding her shoulder possessively, cut in, "No need for you to worry," meaning he was the real boyfriend here. Jessica leaned into him, smiling brightly. "Relax. Jason will protect me." The irony was that when our team reached the destination, their leader was frantically counting heads. "We're missing one!" I immediately scanned the crowd but couldn't see Jessica anywhere. All I saw was Jason sitting on the ground, grimacing in pain. A wave of dread hit me. Jessica was like Jason's shadow wherever he went. She followed. I rushed over, grabbed his collar and shouted, "Where's Jessica?" He blinked, dazed from the pain of a sprained ankle. He clearly didn't know either. After asking around, one girl said she thought she saw Jessica go back to look for something. Later, I learned it was the cheap red thread bracelet Jason had given her. She'd gone back for it. She'd worn it for years. The color faded, but never once took it off. She said Jason got it from a temple, a love knot that would bind them forever. If the leader hadn't stopped me, I might have hit Jason again. I insisted on going back up the mountain to look for her, but they all tried to hold me back. The sky was black with clouds, wind howling, a storm was coming. Climbing in the rain wasn't smart, but Jessica was still up there. I had to go. I don't know how long I searched. Rain and leaves whipped at my face, the mud sucked at my shoes, and dead branches scratched my skin raw. Then, finally, I spotted a figure huddled under a rock, trembling. I ran to her, almost crazed, and pulled her into my arms. She was terrified, her face pale as paper, crying and yelling, "I was so scared! What took you so long?" I held her tight, murmuring comfort over and over until she calmed down a little. But when she tried to stand, her legs gave out completely. She couldn't walk. So I carried her, step by slow step, down the mountain. We were almost at the gathering point when I slipped, my foot gave way, and I went down hard. At the last second, I threw my arm around Jessica to shield her. Pain tore through me as a sharp rock gashed my arm. Then, as soon as she heard Jason calling, Jessica bolted straight to him. "I thought I'd never see you again," she said. I just stood there, staring at the blood running down my arm, dripping onto the ground, vivid red. She didn't notice, or maybe she didn't care. The cut left a long scar. I looked at it for a moment and thought how ugly it was. Why had I ever seen it as proof of devotion, a badge of undying love? I pushed her away, ignoring the small cut on her face. "I'll have the driver take you home." "No, I want to stay here," Jessica said, wrapping her arms around me again. I used to melt whenever she acted cute, but now, watching her dirty hands stain my robe, I felt only disgust, the same disgust I felt looking at the scar on my arm. I didn't yield, just pushed her away harder and went about my own business. Jessica, never treated like this before, grew anxious. She suddenly shouted, "Luke, I'm saying yes!" I froze. "What? You wanted to take responsibility, right? You wanted to be my boyfriend? I'm agreeing." I let out a dry laugh. It was almost funny. She probably still thought that saying yes to me was some kind of enormous favor. "What about Jason?" I asked. Her eyes turned red. "We broke up." I just raised an eyebrow, unmoved. Their breakups were a joke, never lasted more than a few days before they were back together. After so many years of this on and off cycle, they were still entangled. Mistaking my silence for hesitation, Jessica quickly added, "It's true this time. He left me alone on the mountain again last night. It was so dark, so scary, and he just walked away without looking back. Maybe you were right. Maybe he never really loved me." So she did remember that night, and what it felt like to be abandoned by Jason. But she still chose him anyway. I stepped back solemnly and said, "You misunderstood. I don't want to be your boyfriend." "Why not?" She pressed. "Because I like Jennifer. I'm pursuing her." That froze Jessica in place. The driver arrived soon after. I escorted her to the door. "Don't call me again unless it's an emergency, especially at night. Because, well, I might be with Jennifer. She's sensitive, and I don't want her crying. Jennifer this, Jennifer that, since when did you two get so close?" Jessica tried to argue, but I shut the door in her face. She started pounding on it, and I had to ask the driver to come up and take her away. After that, I changed the door code. The old one had been her birthday combined with the day we first met. She'd come over so many times and never once noticed what that code meant. Maybe she just didn't care. The new password was Jennifer's birthday and the day we met. To make sure there'd be no more surprise visits, I even called the security desk and told them not to let Jessica in again. Only then did I feel at peace. That night, after dinner, Jennifer and I curled up on the couch watching a movie. She popped a strawberry into my mouth and said, "My company's hosting a family event next week. Can you come with me?" I smiled. "Funny, I was just wondering when you'd mention it." "Huh? How did you know about it?" "Because Jessica asked me to go with her this morning," I admitted. The girl in my arms stiffened slightly. "And what did you tell her?" I pulled out my phone and handed it over. "See for yourself." She read the screen for a few seconds before bursting into laughter. "Luke, that's kind of mean." I shrugged. "Can't help it, she's annoying." Then I poked her in the side. "And you? Were you overthinking again just now?" "No!" Jennifer denied, giggling and swatting at me. We wrestled playfully on the couch for a good 10 minutes. When things grew heated, I asked softly, "Jennifer, is this okay?" Her arms slowly wrapped around my neck, and she nodded, slow and sure. I lifted her and carried her to the bedroom, leaving my phone unlocked on the couch, still open to Jessica's chat. "Luke, there's a company event next week. You need to bring a family member. Can you come with me?" Me. "I'm not your dad." Jennifer's company event turned out to be a 2-day camping trip. No signal, no internet, just everyone grilling and gossiping around a bonfire. I overheard her coworkers whispering about how good-looking I was, which made me a little embarrassed. The moment I looked away, Jessica appeared beside me. She was holding 2 skewers of grilled meat. "Luke, can you tie my hair up for me? My hands are full." I gave her a cold glance. "No." Picking up 2 drinks from the table, I added, "Now my hands are full too." Then I walked over to Jennifer and slipped my arm around her shoulder affectionately. I handed her a drink. Jessica had always hated seeing me close to other girls. Back in high school, when a girl wrote me a love letter, Jessica snatched it up and read it aloud in front of everyone, drawing a whole crowd. The poor girl was so humiliated she skipped school for days. After that, no one else dared give me a letter. I'd been angry that Jessica hurt her, but part of me had felt smug, too. I told myself she was jealous that she must like me. Otherwise, why would she act that way? It wasn't until she introduced me to Jennifer that I realized it wasn't love at all. It was possession, entitlement. I was just an old toy, something worn out, no longer exciting. She didn't love me, but she didn't want anyone else to have me either. Maybe she was just confident that the toy would always come back on its own. That day, I finally understood, and I let go. There was no grand revenge plan, no stubborn hope, just acceptance and peace. So, I opened my heart, truly let Jennifer in, and fell in love with her. My story with Jennifer might have started because of Jessica, but it wasn't the revenge Jessica always imagined. I thought after that morning's embarrassment, Jessica's pride would stop her from making a fool of herself again, but I underestimated her. Later that night, everyone was gathered around the campfire eating and talking. Jennifer rubbed her arms and said, "I'm a little cold." I nodded and went to the RV to fetch her a jacket. Just as I picked it up, I heard the door lock click behind me. I turned around and saw Jessica standing there. It was chilly, barely over 10 degrees. Yet she was dressed in something thin, one shoulder bare, her wavy hair loose, her eyes sultry. I used to be obsessed with that face, but now all I could think about was Jennifer outside, waiting, shivering in the cold. I didn't want to guess what Jessica was trying to do. I stepped aside, meaning to leave, but she blocked my path and pressed closer. "Hey, Jessica!" I warned. She only leaned in more, eyes glinting with mischief. "Luke, it's just the 2 of us. Dark, quiet, no one will ever know. Come on!" My brows drew tight. Disgust crawling up my skin like grime. Then a noise came from the window behind us. I turned and saw Jennifer standing there, eyes red. I immediately stepped back, putting a full meter between Jessica and me, waving frantically. "It's not what it looks like, Jennifer! It's not!" She wouldn't listen. Tears were already streaming down her cheeks. Jessica, triumphant, smirked and added fuel to the fire. "Luke, what's the rush? Guess your little girlfriend just caught you red-handed. Brilliant move, genius." Jennifer suddenly lifted her head. "Did you really think I'd cry and make a scene, then dump him?" She raised her phone and waved it. "Please." Where on earth doesn't have cameras these days? The RV camera's synced to my phone. I already backed up the footage. Want to watch how you tried to seduce someone else's boyfriend? By the time she finished talking, I'd already opened the car door, eyes wide in awe. "That's awesome," I said. Jennifer lifted her chin proudly, as if to say, naturally. Jessica's face turned ashen as she watched us being all affectionate, anger surging up uncontrollably. After days of humiliation and heartbreak, only one thought echoed in her mind: Luke was hers. Luke could only be hers. He'd stayed by her side for so many years, it was Jennifer who'd stolen him. If Jennifer just disappeared, everything would go back to the way it was. He'd still be there, devoted to her as always. Jessica's hand closed around a knife from the table, and she charged toward us as we walked away, arm in arm. She raised the knife at the small, delicate figure ahead. "Disappear! I want you gone!" I saw it just in time, lunging forward to shield Jennifer. The blade sank into my side with a dull, heavy thud, pain exploding across my lower back. My knees buckled. Through the haze, I saw Jessica drop the knife and run, and Jennifer, her hands covered in my blood, frozen in panic. Her tears splashed onto my face. I wanted to tell her not to cry, that it was okay, but no sound came out. I'd never imagined Jessica would actually try to hurt someone. After all, she used to cry for hours if a baby bird got hurt. The first time I met her, we were 10, one summer afternoon. I'd climbed the fence to peek at the new neighbors and saw a little girl in a white puff dress with pigtails crouched under a tree, crying. "What's wrong?" I asked. Through tears, she pointed at a bird on the ground. "I think it's dead. Poor thing." I jumped down into her yard, crouched beside her, and looked closely. "It's not dead, just hurt. See?" I gently rubbed the bird's head, and it twitched in response. I looked up into the branches, and together we carefully put the bird back in its nest. Before I left, she grabbed my hand. "Can you come play with me often?" My mom and dad aren't home much, and I'm all alone. Jessica's parents were gone for weeks at a time, so she always waited for me to visit. Eventually, I didn't need to climb the wall anymore. She'd stand at the gate every day waiting. Each day, she wore a different little princess dress, holding a doll, her face full of expectation that bloomed into a bright smile the moment she saw me. One day I showed up with a toy sword, and she dug a plastic crown out of her toy chest, grinning. "I'm the princess, and you're my knight." So I remembered that, and for more than 10 years I was her knight. But even knights have to move on someday to protect the person they love. When I woke up 3 days later, Jennifer was still hovering nearby, worry written all over her face. I got out of bed and showed off a brisk walk. "See, I'm fine now. Don't worry." Family and friends came by to visit one after another, even Jessica's parents. I hadn't seen them many times before. My last clear memory of them was the night Jessica ran away from home, hopping on Jason's motorcycle and leaving behind a sobbing mother and a silent father. They were here now to plead for her. Assault with a weapon meant prison time. They said a lot, mostly trying to invoke the years of friendship between us, hoping to soften me. I said nothing, lost in my own thoughts. Jessica's mother, thinking I was determined to send her daughter to jail, grew desperate and started to kneel. I stopped her. "Ma'am, she nearly hurt my girlfriend. I can never truly forgive her, but..." Jessica's parents looked up, hopeful. "But what?" they asked. I sighed. Maybe I was still soft-hearted. Jessica had finally seen Jason for who he was. As her old friend, I genuinely hoped she could start over. But I would forgive her only this once. I won't press charges, but there are 3 conditions. First, she leaves this city. She can't appear near me or my girlfriend again. Second, she must never harm my girlfriend. Third, you two should spend more time with her. Jessica's parents readily agreed to all 3. I recovered quickly within a week. I was almost back to normal. The day Jennifer came to pick me up from the hospital with a bouquet in her arms, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Only 3 words. "I'm sorry." I didn't need to guess who it was. My heart stayed calm, without a ripple. Jennifer leaned in, eyes gleaming with curiosity. "What are you looking at?" I squinted at her, teasing. "Want to know?" She nodded eagerly. I typed something, sent it to her, and tapped the screen. "There. Check your phone." She looked, then flushed scarlet. "Luke." My message read, "Guy with a back injury, what's the least strenuous position?"